Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
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 Oh, okay, awesome. I can hear everyone.
Everybody needs to, if they can, turn on their, there you go, cameras, ML and La Destiny. If you want to turn on your cameras, you can. On behalf of Shreve Memorial Library, I would like to welcome everyone to the 2020 Writers Medley via Zoom. The Shreveport Writers Club, since 1935, it has been the mission of the Shreveport Writers Club to foster creativity in writing, promote networking, and provide mutual encouragement to all who attend. This is from the press release. This is not my original writing. I just want to make sure I say that. The club provides support for all genres and writing styles by published as well as unpublished writers. The Writers Medley is an opportunity for club members to share their work with the public by giving short readings of finished works or excerpts from longer works in progress. And with that, I will ask everyone to mute their microphones until it is your time to read. And I will turn it over to our intrepid president, Tiffany Pennywell, who will be welcoming everyone, and she's going to take over the meeting from here. Tiffany?
Hi, how's everyone doing?
Great.
Thank you for joining us. We're very excited to be able to share our work with you. I'm very excited to hear a lot of work from these awesome people. Today we are going to be starting with Mary. She's going to kick us off, and I'll let her do a little introduction about herself and her work. And also, for everyone, I will time you on this end so you don't have to worry about that while reading. Okay. And Mary, go ahead and unmute yourself so that you can start.
Okay. I'm ML Dumars, also known as Mary. I have been writing for almost as long as I've been able to talk, and I've been published in an anthology as well as in a local literary magazine, Fleur de Lit, here in the Shreveport Caddo Parish region of Louisiana. I'm going to share a few prose and poetry pieces with you today. I'll start with Two Little Girls, the name of this piece. Two little girls sit by the tree. The youngest thinks of what she will give. The oldest dreams of what she'll be. That is how they were taught to live. Mom and Dad hear and take heed. The girls have no fear, no reason to hide. They have no unmet need, for their loving parents stand at their side. Though dreams can be delayed, they are not denied, as love can be betrayed, but in their hearts reside. Interrupted. Isolated, alone, still, quiet, shattered by the freight train of noise, a cacophony of sounds all at once, bits of conversation, sips of wine, flapping sheets of laughter, snippets of exchange. Does no one know we are in quarantine? Handshakes, hugs, pats on the back, now taboo. Mask up when you go shopping or when someone sneezes. Don't touch the shelves, but wear gloves just in case. Sanitize your groceries and the surface on which they sat. Sing happy birthday twice as you wash your hands and pray you see another one next year. What about the children? No touch classrooms, desks in plexiglass, face shields and kitty masks, little bandits robbing them of their youth. No visits with grandma. Grandpa is sick, a hand on the window pane. Life is but a vapor swirling around, deadly. Now we know. Thank you. Next is the party. Tall boots caress her thighs. Love struts through the house, gathering trinkets of joy. The surprise party is coming together. Mother arranges memories around the hearth. Baby boy unsuspecting. Glitter flip-flops, tattered jeans, curly gold afro crowns the queen's head. Gumbo gatherings, good smells wafting, snowball fussing at the door, brothers coming soon. Lace up front, black high heel ankle boot, sister looking good for the evening. Quietly watching, smiling, laughing, grieving her husband's death, deep pain in chest, ministering to young women on the verge of marriage, living in faith. Dapper brown and orange loafers, black and blue Nile West socks, sitting, listening, taking it all in. Nothing gets missed. Sweet mama nearby, tapping to the music, straight vibing to classic R&B. Little feet, toes wiggling in grass, soft carpet, up the stairs and down. Energy emanates palpably, ready for whatever. Too young for romance, surrounded by love and family. Thank you. Untouchable. I peer into an ornate silver mirror that hangs on a smooth, brightly painted wall. The image of an untouchable stares back at me. A woman of dark complexion shakes the ropes of crinkled hair hanging from her fuzzy crown. Her full lips and wide nose bridge dare to move, widening smile and flaring nostrils. A woman moves about in this society on a treacherous path of the untouchable. She carries her fear upon her back daily, believing her life matters, but knowing it is threatened, detested, and best not noticed. Rape, domestic abuse, disregard, and death lurk around every surprised glance. Wide hips and ample butt insult and enrage. Rhythmic motion above thick thighs reminds this country of the lowly help, the workers in antebellum times, those we did not touch in case the ignorance and darkness should rub off. Oh, but they did touch. Ask my cousin Honey with the funny eyes and pale brown skin. Society endorses white petite frames and long silky hair, button noses, and thin smirking smiles. Smiles that hold contempt for the slut who seduces her husband after working all day in the field or house, for the wounded womb that holds her child's love, for the emotionally shackled cook that rules her kitchen, contempt for the untouchable. The mirror reflects my story, sees my pain, where I have been, how much farther I must go. Do you see me? Can you see color? Do you know how to ask before you touch me? My hair, my skin, my full features belong to me only. No chains or laws or slurs can hold me back from my destiny. I stand proud because I am untouchable. Passover. Stealth, efficient, deadly, indiscriminate, viral pandemic seeps into every aspect of life. Fear and denial strike deep into our minds as our lungs fill and swell with infectious air. Fluid and lift is the breath that carries our agonizing and ruthless death. No kind word, no comforting hug, no handshake or gesundheit. Everyone is suspect, and isolation is coveted. I hibernate in my home, hoping it will soon pass, like the lamb's blood on the door frame. Pass by and leave me untouched, virgin in time of despair.
I think we lost two.
You lost me?
No, we
We
lost
lost
Tiffany.
Tiffany. Are you
Oh,
still going?
okay.
I'm texting her.
Okay. Casting stones. My friend likes my hair. She thinks it is cool. Her hand reaches to touch it. I let her like a fool. She does not see my wounds, her words and hands inflict. My hair not something to share. The touch makes me flinch. My body is my own. You have no right to touch. To reach without permission means you assume too much. I lose myself to be your friend. Your entitlement causes my psyche to rend. I remain silent. I cannot confess. In your discomfort, I'd lose you at best. And I'd like to share a bit of prose. This is called Forgiveness. Sadie picked at the old scab on her baby toe. She hated wearing the pink patent leather church shoes because the seam rubbed her baby toe something awful. But Big Mama insisted that all the girls look their best on Sunday. Every resident in the orphan girls' boarding school had the same blue dress and pair of shiny shoes. Sadie continued to pick her toe, wincing at the flicker of pain with each pull. She was upset today because Big Mama chastised her in front of the whole church yesterday, just for talking to a boy. She didn't even bother to get the details. She just assumed they were up to no good. She watched a line of ants cross the broken concrete step below her until the shadow fell and took the light. She looked up and squinted at Big Mama's darkened face. I'm sorry, baby, for hurting your feelings yesterday. It just don't feel right having you mad at me. I baked some sweet potato pone and saved you a big corner, seeing as you like it so much. Her round eyes searched Sadie. In a flood of fierce love, Sadie hopped up and grabbed her thick neck. She pressed her nose against the rose-scented flesh. Of course she would forgive Big Mama. This was home, right here in her big fleshy arms. Thank you. I'm trying to watch the time, so don't let me go too far. This next piece is called Her Hand. I have always admired my grandma's hands. She had slender, elegant hands, rich cocoa brown, lined with wrinkles and stained with calluses. Her right pointer finger formed a peculiar hook at the first joint, a subtle turn that stopped you cold when you were doing something you shouldn't, a quick beckoning to receive swift punishment. Those hands were seldom still enough to be observed, though. They were always busy tending the garden, cleaning the house, or cooking a meal, caring for a child or nursing the sick, planting seeds or harvesting a crop. She was the one they called Minerva. Those hands could move moist soil back from a burgeoning onion.
Uh-oh. Mary, looks like you're frozen. Did Mary freeze for everybody? ML
Yeah.
froze for everybody. Okay. So maybe she can reconnect and we can come back to her, Tiffany. But I think it may just be a moment. I think we're just gonna have to move on, Tiff, because I think, are you
Okay.
back, Mary? Nope, she's gone.
Okay. And we can always come back to her when she gets back. Think, let's see. I was thinking about Zoom meetings. We can have those technical difficulties. Okay,
It looked like she is back, but she's talking to me.
oh, okay.
Yes.
There
Am
we
I
go.
good? Am I
Yes,
good to go?
go. You're good to go. You got 2 minutes.
All right, great. Thank you. It seemed that my grandmother's natural state was in the garden. That's where she thrived. Life seemed to vibrate around her. I remember finishing up my chores one day and peeking through the window of the back bedroom where I could see her walking through the rows, touching, caressing, nurturing each plant, singing to it, willing it to grow. As she aged, she said, "You have to talk to the garden. Let it know you care." Those hands caressed and nurtured children who came to her too, by blood, kin, or heart. I was my grandma's shadow. I followed her everywhere. When she walked through the rows touching the plants, I followed close behind and reached out a tentative finger too. I dragged the water hose from the faucet at the side of the house to the garden and moved it from row to row just the way she taught me, careful not to allow heavy drops to damage delicate blossoms or heavy hose to rake over precious growing things. She never used anything attached to the hose. She taught me to use my fingers to shape and control the stream of water, tired fingers creating wide sprays as gentle as a spring rain, or a long jet of water to reach beyond the end of the hose without knocking a single bean pod off the vine or laying down a struggling sprout. After work was done, she scrubbed those hands clean. Thank you for allowing me to share with you today.
And thank you for sharing with us. We really appreciated that. That was super awesome. Next up would be Stephanie.
Hi, everybody. It's a short story called Hands in the Cookie Jar. Should be right about 10 minutes, maybe 11 minutes. It's about two brothers that live with an abusive stepmother. I normally love weekends, but in this case, I couldn't wait for Monday to get here. I have hated weekends for the past 2 years. More on that later when I have a chance to tell you. My name is Theodore, but just call me Theo. It was Saturday morning, August 12th, the day that I turned 13. The thought made me burst into tears. 13 years old, that's when I had to be a man, as they say. But I don't want to be a man. That means I would have to look after my nutso of a brother. I guess most kids look forward to their teen years, but I don't get to do the fun stuff like the others do. School's almost here, but just 2 more weeks of summer in San Diego. The, the, the neighborhood is buzzing with cool kids everywhere on skateboards and bicycles. Join them, or maybe, just maybe I can, later on, then I heard a crash. If I had jumped any higher, the ceiling would have a hole, in addition to the one that came from last week's storm. Oh no, I panicked, annoyed that my daydream was interrupted for the millionth time. I sprinted across the hall and down the stairs. My jaw could feel the floor. He pointed to the mess and smirked at me, obviously proud of what he'd done. The things you can accomplish when you're 5 years old. Braden, I hollered, you know you're not supposed to do that. The cookies were all over the floor, and Braden focused on using them to make a smiley face. Braden don't talk. I seized him by the collar. He started to whine and struggle, but he knew better than to try further. You're gonna get us into trouble again? I was about to shake him. But then the car engine grew closer. I shivered all over, despite the summer heat. It can't be. Early, nothing gets the hair on the back of my neck up like her. I grabbed a coloring book from the coffee table drawer and looked Braden squarely in the eye. Okay, take this with you in the den and do not come out unless I tell you. Then I added, or unless she tells you. Braden seemed to get it that time, thank heavens, and scurried into the room, slamming the door behind him. Frantic, I snatched a garbage bag and towel from the closet, scooping the scattered glass pieces and cookie crumbs in one motion. She walked in, this small petite woman who gave me the heebie-jeebies without fail. I was relieved that she didn't see Braden's mess. Who knows what would have happened? Calm as possible at the kitchen table, praying Braden wouldn't make a sound. Her name is Mabel, by the way, entered the kitchen and eyed me as if she hadn't seen me in ages. What are you doing here? Hoping my pounding heart wasn't audible, I answered, nothing, just doing some housework. Mabel didn't like that answer. Really? Since when? And why ain't you at the mall or roller skating rink or wherever it is you kids go? I cannot deal with you this early in the day. She took out a cigarette and lighter, grabbed a beer from the cooler, and kicked off her high-heeled shoes right in the kitchen. My shoulders felt heavy. She clearly doesn't care about me or Braden. Well, it's not our fault that we're stuck with her. Mom and Dad would never treat us this way in a million years. For the life of me, I can't figure out what we did to deserve this chick supervising us. I miss our home, and I know Braden does too, although he probably doesn't know it. Boy, that kid is more than a handful. I should just click my sneakers like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz and will ourselves back home, only I don't know how. Yeah, how we got here. No one will tell us anything. Then a scream came from down the hall. No, not that kind of scream. I guess the kind that only Braden would do. Only this time, Mabel heard it. She was so startled she spilled beer on her business suit. Oh, crap. What the?
Okay, looks like Stephanie is frozen too. Can you hear us, Stephanie, or is she gone?
Yeah, I think we lost her.
I think we lost her. Okay. Everybody's connections aren't stable this morning. Sorry. All right. Yep, she's gone. We'll have to come back.
Yeah, I think we missed Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. I'm gonna give her about like maybe 10 seconds and see if she pops up again. Let's see. There she is.
Sorry about that. Okay, I'll finish up. This was the last place I expected Braden to hide in. Why couldn't he just go up to his own room? Oh, that's right, stupid me. I told him to go in there. Mabel's special place, the place no one, not one dare go in but her, not even her jerk of a husband. Thank God he's out of town. Don't need two of them making us uncomfortable. Braden had no problem making himself at home in the forbidden room. How he managed to make a ruckus in less than 5 minutes is beyond my comprehension. He threw every article of Mabel's clothing on the floor, including one on the ceiling fan. He had taken her lipstick and smudged it on the mirror, the TV, and both nightstands. And to top it off, now that Braden had a live audience, it was time for the grand finale, but not before he turned his gaze to Mabel and flashed his best toothless smile. He hid something behind his back and revealed it to be Mabel's favorite stiletto. Climbing on top of the dresser, Braden proceeded to kick the mirror in, breaking it, then smashing the rest of it with the stiletto. This went on for at least a minute, and I couldn't move. Mabel sure could, though. I followed her. No, please don't. He's just a kid. Mabel was determined. I'll do better to watch him, I begged. Mabel grabbed the belt out of her closet. Well, you should have tried harder. Too late now. She pushed me back hard, causing me to thud against the wall. I struggled to get back up, but hearing Braden's scared whimper was more than enough. With all the energy I could muster, I thought of Mabel. Braden was safe for now, but I didn't want to even think about what might come next. Only I don't remember what came next. Who knows how much time had passed. I opened my eyes to a dark room. I must have been, but how long was I out for? No time for that now. I got to find Braden. I didn't hear any whimpering, so he couldn't have been there with me. I had to be quiet when I moved. I don't know what evil could be lurking in the house. I tiptoed out and down the hall. My pounding heart was loud enough to wake the dead. I heard two faint voices, one of them Mabel's, no doubt. I edged closer to the top of the stairs, staying out of sight behind the wall. Mabel sounded like she was talking on the speakerphone, and she sounded very intoxicated. She was pacing furiously, and cigarette smoke wafted up from below. I could only hear bits and pieces of Mabel's end of the conversation. She threw something in the corner, as I was hidden, but the noise startled me. I swear, Mike, I'm gonna lose my mind. No, you listen. I just can't. I can't stand these two brats. Shut up. Stop talking. I don't care if they're my sister's kids, and she can't look after them. The very next time they get on my nerves, they can just, after more screaming, she slammed down the phone. That's it. Finally, a plan to bust the hell out of here. I just needed time to think. As I paced in front of a blanket on the bathroom floor behind the cracked open door, the blanket moved a bit. I lifted the blanket. Braden was curled in a ball, his face in his hands, weeping. Oh my God, Braden, what did she do to you? But of course he said nothing. I didn't need any more time to think. I knew what needed to be done. Mabel had been slumped in her chair probably for most of the evening and was about to nod off, no doubt in a lousy state from all the beer she drank. Now was my chance. In the best Braden impression I could muster, I wailed, Braden just threw Cheerios at me and he's not listening and I don't know what to do. No movement from her. She didn't stir. I needed to put more oomph into my voice. And your evening gown is being ripped to shreds. That was it. She started to get up from her chair, up the stairs on one of her raging binges. You two punks are history. You hear me? History, she hollered. No, you are. But Mabel was not to be dissuaded. She was focused on Braden sitting at the top of the stairs calmly. As soon as she reached the top, I jumped out from around the corner and pushed her. She fell all the way back and lay motionless at the bottom. I couldn't begin to describe how I felt after that. I grabbed Braden and swung him with joy. Come on, buddy. Let's go to our real home. Braden clapped and squealed. I didn't bother packing. We couldn't be in that house for one more minute. Braden and I ran so fast, the wind blew through our hair and we didn't dare look back. The bus, we had to catch that last bus before it got away. Finally, we made it on. We were out of breath, but so elated to be free. We sat down and Braden immediately climbed onto my lap and looked at me with dreamy eyes. Though he didn't talk, I knew that he looked up to me. We looked up to each other. As a bus ride wore on that evening, for the first time in who knows how long, I enjoyed watching his angelic face sleep. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing that. That was very good.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next up is going to be Ken.
Be sure I have there enough juice in this thing. Okay. I'm gonna. Can anybody see me? Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to read a little part of, and many of you are familiar with this manuscript I'm working on, Pennies from Heaven, that I plan to try to make a book from. And this is my protagonist named Willard. Now he's changed his name to Willard, living by that name in a very remote area, kind of a wilderness area, in an old house he knows nothing about, but he's starting to find out that there's some strange things going on in this house, and it's making him wonder what actually has happened there. And so, and he's hiding out, planning on finding some buried money that some criminals, he knows where they had buried, but that has yet to come. Willard was startled when one evening after supper, while still half asleep, he seemed to see a mysterious young woman's dark form silhouetted out a window, hurriedly looking around. She seemed to look at him as if to speak, then continued running toward the woods and disappeared. Willard called out to her, but didn't see her anymore. The surprise almost sent him backward. Then he just stood there stunned until he could recover his senses. That night, he dreamed that he watched the young woman digging through old drawers from a cabinet that had been left there. She would go on from drawer to drawer, then just sit in a chair and look frustrated, as though she was thinking of somewhere else to look for whatever it was she was searching. Willard that morning rummaged through the drawers but found nothing. Several times he would imagine seeing a figure standing nearby out of the corner of his eye, but a quick glance would prove nothing there. Imagining the appearances of the young woman increased as the nights passed, and Willard was determined to find out what had happened in that house. In a way, he had been in a hurry to get the buried money and get away from that area, but something seemed to be drawing him to stay longer. He would find out that leaving would not be that easy. As Willard spent more time in the old Rollins place, he increasingly seemed to feel another presence, making him wonder what had happened there. Faint noises during the daytime from other parts of the house sounded like somebody was there moving around. Sometimes he imagined hearing a child's cry or a door closing. Other times he swore to himself he could hear a woman's faint sobbing or a low whispering in those closed up areas across the house. One day while exploring those unused parts, Willard got the scare of his life when he opened the small door on a large plain armoire. Staring up at him was a life-size rubber doll that had been placed on a small chair. A music box on a little table next to the doll began playing. That was enough for Willard. He closed the door and moved quickly away, but even in the next room, he could still hear that music box for a while. When he would go outside, the house seemed to loom over him, and he almost expected to see faces in the dark windows looking back at him. Often on late evenings or at night, Willard could hear the distant mournful howl of a wolf or dog, which was different from any he had ever heard before, sending chills up his spine. Cloudy, dreary days seemed to bring out more of these strange noises. Many times Willard swore to himself that he would glimpse movement out of the corner of his eye, only to look and see nothing. He began believing his imagination was getting away from him when one night he thought he saw men on horses passing through the woods nearby, but it was only a herd of deer. But the thing which caught his attention more than anything else in the house was a collection of ceramic knickknacks in a cabinet resembling colonial era people. Collecting these had been a popular pastime in the early 20th century. Willard wondered why these pieces, like the good furniture, had remained all the time that the house was vacant. In time, he noticed that the figures appeared to have moved or turned slightly, and some seemed to be watching him. Once he noticed the older male figure on the floor. The older female figure was turned over on the cabinet while the two younger male and female characters stood facing them. Willard quickly placed the fallen figures back in place and arranged them all in a way that he could notice any change. He seemed silly trying to read too much into these figurines, but continued to watch them each morning to see if they moved. One night he took the male figure down, and while examining it, accidentally dropped it on his bare toe, making him jump. A cabinet door opened, showing a pile of pictures in a heap. Curious, Willard thumbed through them, noticing a well-dressed family looking back in different poses. Most were of a man and woman with two teenage girls. Another showed two well-dressed teenage girls standing together, smiling with another young woman standing off to the side, frowning and not well dressed. Yet another picture showed the two teenage girls with unfriendly expressions standing in an odd pose while facing the camera as if doing some strange dance. In some other pictures of the two girls and the older couple, the older man and woman looked thoroughly disgusted and the girls were frowning. These pictures sent a weird feeling through Willard as he wondered why they had been left at a time when pictures of family were so rare and cherished. He grabbed an empty cigar box close by and stuffed all the pictures into it. A real shock gripped Willard when one morning he did see a young woman with a basket under her arm passing at a distance behind his house while he was drawing water from the pump. And this was no illusion. He immediately called out, "Good morning," and she jumped in surprise. After a moment, she spoke. And that's it. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much for sharing that. All right, next is going to be John.
Morning, everybody. I just want to say, first of all, I always cherish every year these holiday things. So what I'm going to do today is kind of a retrospect of things I've read in the past and just remark on some of those stories that, so you may have heard some of these before, but they're always good memories for me, our get-togethers and stuff. And I'm so glad we could do this virtually this year because it's one of the highlights of the year for me with the club. So I just wanted to say that before starting. The first thing I'm going to read is actually a poem. This is part of a larger work, but this poem is a winter style thing. It's called The Warmth of Winter. Persephone has returned to her yearly sojourn, while Demeter laments. The gourds have been carved with their scary faces. Children celebrate their sugary conquests as the fallen leaves wait to be reaped. Apollo's chariot travels less. Artemis stays her bow. As the days grow short, but our toil does not. Dionysus and Hestia revel with us as we roast and feast and drink our fill. We sit by the fire with our loved ones and reminisce the year gone by in simultaneous mourning and celebration. Aphrodite bestows her gifts upon us in goodwill to all men in the bosom of family. Our hearts swell to bursting as we set aside just for a moment the works of Ares. The second story is called The Longest December. Please shut the crack. The punch stopped the plea. It's hard to talk through bleeding teeth. Now that I have your attention, let me start again. Yes, what you're seeing is true. No, you're not hallucinating. I am you from the future, and I'm going to kill you. You have to understand, I'm not going to give you the nothing personal speech or any of that nonsense because it's intensely personal. I hate you, me, whatever. Goddamn time travel gives me a headache. So shut up, sit back, and take it in stride. You had a good run, and every time I've come back to course correct, it's gotten worse because you screw it up. So this is the only way. The younger version rubbed his jaw, getting blood on his palm. The only way to what? The elder grit his teeth, less at the interruption than the reminder of how impertinent he had been in his younger days. To make it right, to rid the world of a sniveling, pathetic waste of air, and if nothing else, make Maria's life better. Who the hell is Maria, and what did I do to her? The older version leveled a gun in the younger version's direction. Nothing now. So just wait, I need a minute. It's not like I can ruin this. Maria, was it? The older version nodded, but held the weapon steady in one hand while he circled a finger in a get-on-with-it gesture with the other. Maria, the younger repeated. Her life can't be affected if I don't even know her. Can I just think this through? By your own admission, this time travel stuff is very confusing. You can have 5. Get clever, and it'll be 0. Got it? He wiggled the gun for emphasis. The younger stepped to the window. Outside, snow fell on an empty parking lot. His breath fogged the glass while he unconsciously hummed a tune. There had to be a way out of this, but how? Why kill him now, here? It would be so much easier to strangle him in the crib or stage some sort of childhood accident. That song, you trying to get cute? Huh? You're humming one of those 90s songs. It's familiar. Oh, it just popped into my head. I hum when I'm nervous, but I guess you know that, being me and all. He squeaked out some off-key lyrics in a trembling voice. I guess the winter makes you laugh a little slower, makes you talk a little lower about the things you could not show her. Shut up. It's not like I can carry a damn tune anyway. I'm going to let that go. So let's get on with this. 1 shot to the head. You won't feel a thing. I'm going to guess you'd rather it from behind. I can give you that much courtesy. The younger version looked at the floor. I don't get it. Won't you die too or cause some sort of paradox? The elder smirked. You've watched too much Star Trek, and it doesn't matter. So time travel, you can do anything, and you chose this? Why not strangle baby Hitler or something? Or for that matter, it'd be easier to just kill baby us, wouldn't it? The younger said, partially stalling for time, but acting upon curiosity. At least I wouldn't have to listen to your nonsense. I forget how much I used to talk. I thought about killing you as a child, but I couldn't just do that to Mom. She'd suffered enough, and I couldn't leave her with that. Yeah, you know. The younger version paced. Something lingered just at the edge of his brain, some angle he hadn't considered. But time ran short, and the song continued in his head. If you think you might come to California, I think you should. You say you've come back in time more than once. You've done a bunch of stuff to fix me or whatever. Have you ever tried bringing me forward? The older version tapped his forehead, then wagged his finger at the younger version. Gotta admit, you're the first one to think outside the box. Normally, one would think about the space-time continuum or whatever, but I've changed things so many times. You know what? Let's do it. I'm still going to kill you, but whether it's now or 20 years from now, it makes no difference to me. He passed over a vial. Drink this. The younger popped the lid and sniffed. I hope that minty smell isn't to cover up some kind of poison. While I wouldn't trust me either, I'm a man of my word. I don't need to trick you. You need to be unconscious for the trip, so drink that sedative before I change my mind. The younger took a swig. It made the edges of his vision blur, followed by a heaviness in his legs and torso. The room spun for a moment, but it wasn't a drunken or loopy feeling as much as a rapid collapse. Why was I always such a lightweight? Mused the elder. The younger awoke sometime later disoriented on a couch in an apartment. If he had traveled through time, it appeared that not much had changed. There weren't holograms or flying cars or the giant electronic billboards Blade Runner or Demolition Man would have had him believe. As he expected, televisions and screens did get bigger in the home, and devices connected to them had gotten smaller. The older version sat in a chair watching his counterpart. The screen on the wall blipped and displayed the face of an attractive brunette woman. Message received, Maria, 9:23 a.m., December 23rd. Play, delete. A surprise to himself as much as the visitor, he replied, play. The text displayed under Maria's face as she relayed her message. Hey, honey, I decided to let you sleep so I could go out and get you another present. I just can't help myself. Love you. See you tonight. The message ended with a kiss blown at the camera. The smile on the elder's face appeared and disappeared as he closed his eyes and took a breath. I see you're awake. Welcome to the world of tomorrow, he joked, imitating a cartoon he once enjoyed. A police siren wailed in the distance as the younger read the news scrawl at the bottom of the wall screen. The elder turned the channel. Despite his earlier proclamation, he really had no idea what effect he had upon the space-time continuum. Tense silence lingered as the two stared at each other until a world-weary fatigue weighed on the elder's face. The younger stood up and stretched. Seems to me from that message things are good. Maria likes you a lot. She's pretty cute, too. I could see you'd want to keep her happy. Mission accomplished? The elder shook his head. First of all, I didn't do the math right. We were supposed to arrive a month ago. Your weight threw it off. Second, Maria's still with me, so mission not accomplished. Huh? You said you ruined her life. She seems happy. What am I missing? Is she dying or something? Picture of health. No, like every married guy, I think she could have done better. It can't be easy being with me, and she handles it every day, even manages to smile. I don't get it. The younger shook his head, struggled for words. I'm just trying to understand here. Has she ever expressed that she's not happy? Like, how do you know? You want to change her life just on the hunch that she can do better? He sighed. What the hell does that even mean? Who are you to decide that for her? Maybe you should just kill me so I don't have to turn into an asshole like you. The elder said nothing, silently debating. The younger walked to the window and watched traffic for a few moments while another song hummed out of his lips. You remind me of the lyrics. I've been wallowing in my own confused and insecure delusions. I'm not going to change your mind, though. He swallowed and returned to the couch. Play that message one more time. I want to go out with something pleasant in the background. And you had it wrong. I don't want you to kill me from behind. At least have the courage to admit that was for you and not me. I want you to look me in the eye when you do it. I know you. I am you. You won't be able to do it face to face, coward. The elder grabbed him by the shirt. You think you're so goddamn clever. You want it, you got it. He leveled the gun right at the forehead of his enemy. Any last words? Just to play message. The recording started again. The gun wavered, then lowered. You son of a bitch. The room altered. Decorations changed place. The color scheme brightened and the shades were replaced with thin curtains, adding a sunlit glow previously not present. The most notable change occurred in the elder. The drab gray hoodie he wore turned into a lighter blue jacket. His hairstyle went from a shaggy unkempt to a shorter cut, and his beard disappeared. What did you do? What the hell did you do? The younger raised his hands, palms outward. Hey, pal, I've been here the whole time. I didn't leave your sight. You saw everything I did. Seems to me that killing me and you isn't the answer. Maybe you should leave well enough alone and send me back. You got it pretty good here, and from what I can tell, it's better than I could have imagined. The elder shook his head and tried to speak, but the words wouldn't come. He dropped the weapon. After a moment, he took a breath and looked at his younger self. Something's different. It doesn't feel like it did. Play message. He smiled. It was exactly the same. No matter how many times I've come back, how much I've tinkered, there's a constant. I wind up here, even after adjusting the controls. The message never changes. She never changes. I don't believe in destiny or any of that crap, but you're right. She makes me better, and I want to be better. The funny thing about that, I don't need to be. I've heard for years I didn't need to trust myself, despite what Mom told us. Maybe I should take that advice, and so should you. The younger version nodded. You can always give me the winning lotto numbers. That'd buy a whole hell of a lot of trust. Tried that once. Didn't work out how you'd think. You're going to have a lot of interesting times ahead, because I've just gained some new memories from the changed timeline. It's time to get you back. The younger man woke in his bed. His cell phone sat on the nightstand, cued to a song with a Play Me Post-it note on it. He complied, and the last line of the song made him shake his head. If you think that I could be forgiven, I wish you would. He picked up an envelope addressed to him in his own handwriting. Do not open until 2025. He tore it up. Too much Star Trek, more like too much Back to the Future. This last one, or not last, but this next one is, thank you. This next one is kind of special to me. I wrote this and then wound up dedicating it to Carlos Colon after he passed. He was an elder of the club, and while he was a poet, even despite what I read earlier, I don't consider myself much of a poet, and decided to do a Japanese fable instead, set in wintertime. So this is for Carlos. Hiroshi started up the cliff, hand by hand, foothold by foothold. The winds sliced at his back, each snowflake another drain of his warmth. Neither dimmed his determination. His stiff joints ached. Fatigue gripped him, and his thoughts lingered on one idea. If I let go now, it will all be over. I will not let go until I am finished. After moonrise the next day, he sat upon the snowy ground at the apex of the mount and engaged in meditation. He hungered, but the emptiness of his stomach was inferior to the peace he sought. What are you doing? Asked the soft voice. Startled, Hiroshi opened one eye, unsure if he had imagined the question. Seeing no one, he steadied himself and returned to his introspection. The chilling wind blew harder and made Hiroshi shiver. Should you not be down in the village preparing the children for the winter festival instead of languishing up here? I did not think the climb would result in madness, thought Hiroshi. I have come here to seek a peace that has long eluded me, he responded aloud. It would seem the only result of sitting on this peak in the snow would be a wet bottom, replied the voice. Should you find this peace you seek, what then? Hiroshi looked out at the expanse beyond the cliff. I will jump, for I will have no more purpose. His answer met with silence. He continued his meditations, slow breathing in and out, giving himself no thoughts save those that came to him. A warm breath upon his neck startled him from his reflection. You intrigue me. You seek deep answers, and should you find them, you choose to die? Would it not be better to share them with others? Hiroshi turned slowly. Before him stood a stout demon, imposing despite its diminutive height. It had skin of pale green, red hair speckled with strands of white, and hanging around its shoulders was a large weathered bag. The cold seemed of little consequence, for it wore no clothing except a leopard skin fashioned into torn pants. The creature regarded Hiroshi with a mixed look of bemusement and weariness. Hiroshi swallowed his fear. I greet you with no ill will, O demon. I have no offering for you, as I was not aware this is your domain. Please accept my apologies. The creature laughed. I am no demon, nor did I ask you for any boon. I am called Fujin by those such as you. This peak is only one of the places I call home, and I welcome you as a guest. Hiroshi bowed. Fujin pulled the string on his bag, tightening it. The winds ceased. And how are you called? I am Hiroshi. Fujin repeated the name as if he were tasting a fruit. You have not answered my question. What is the benefit of knowledge that is not shared? With a shake of his head, Hiroshi replied, my life has been without purpose, without meaning. Even if I were to learn some great truth, my influence upon the village is small. It is not my responsibility to provide them with what I have learned. Each man should find his own answers. The wind god nodded and released the string on the sack around his shoulders. If that is how you feel, I will help you find your answers. The strong gust hit Hiroshi and threw him off the land beneath his feet. He careened past the crags and rocks he had climbed past a day prior, unable to right himself. Another barrage of winds hit him from below, holding him aloft as he stared at the ground. Is this truly what you want? Asked Fujin. You've provided no answers, replied Hiroshi. Fujin laughed. It is not my responsibility to provide them with what I have learned. Each man should find his own answers. Hiroshi said nothing as the winds carried him back to the peak. Another tie of the string on the sack ceased the gale. Fujin regarded the broken man before him, considering his words. How do you know what wind is? The question met with a shrug of indifference. You are a guest in my home, and I have asked you a question. How do you know what wind is? I can feel it. I can watch the leaves move in it. I have experienced it in many forms, Hiroshi mumbled. You ask what life is, what meaning it has. Life is wind. You feel it, watch things move in it, and experience it in many forms. You seek to define life, to shape it, or give it some meaning. You cannot see wind, and you cannot see life, but you can experience both. Hiroshi considered the response. You tell me life has no meaning? My search has been for naught? Perhaps you should have let me fall. You misunderstand. You cannot see wind or hold wind. Would you call wind inessential? You would not. Why then do you do so with life? It does not define you. You define it. You ask a question that cannot be answered with words, but with experiences. Just as the winds carry seeds and hold birds aloft, you carry life. You are life. Then why do I feel so much emptiness? Fujin released the string on his bag and let the winds carry Hiroshi back to the village. Perhaps you are looking in the wrong places. This one I wrote, it's not a holiday story or a winter story. Thank you. It's more, I wrote this earlier this year and it'll be obvious why, but I just wanted to include this because I just really liked how this turned out. It's the end of the damn world. Nah. She looked at him incredulous. That's all you can say? Nah? How can you be so sure? People are dying, everyone's closing down, we can't even leave the house. It's going to be months, probably years before things reach some kind of normalcy. And it'll never be like it was. So how isn't it the end? He shrugged and then looked at his hands. After a smile crossed his face, he sighed. This morning, it was still dark outside while I was feeding the outdoor cat. It's still afraid of me, but every day it comes a little closer. And every day that plate is clean. And right before I opened the door, I heard birds singing. It's springtime. That's how I know it's not the end. The cat hasn't given up, the birds haven't given up, and we shouldn't either. She hugged him. You're so damn corny. He laughed. And we're less than 6 feet apart. I think got time for one more. Come, sit by the fire, relieve yourself of the cold. The old man beckoned. His long, unkempt beard dripped melted snow and dripped melted ice like a springtime rooftop. Warmth enveloped the young man, comforting, crackling, seductive. The fire reflected the old man. It provided an aura of safety against the raging cold, but the embers within the flames carried a hint of danger. Aged eyes carried a weariness tempered by too many years of living. Every breath was a pointed exclamation to a question never asked. Every glance pierced to the very soul. A faint song played from a small cassette player at the old man's side, and it provided a tinny soundtrack to the scene. I want to be Bob Dylan. Mr. Jones wishes he was someone just a little more funky. The old man took a drag from the pipe perilously dangling from the corner of his mouth. I'll tell you a secret, he said intensely, and took a swig of a foul-smelling drink from a flask without removing the pipe from his lips. Heroes don't set out to be heroes. They don't call themselves that. The young man nodded. And the villains, they don't know they're villains. No one calls themselves evil, no matter what the Saturday morning cartoons tell you. And all anyone does is what they think is right. The song continued. When everybody loves you, you can never be lonely. I will never be lonely. Ashes fell into his lap and he didn't notice or care. Think the poor bastard who wrote that song feels loved? The young man finally took his place at the fire and produced a flask of his own from his jacket. Like everyone else, he sold out. His songs used to be deep. They used to be about something. He lived, man. There was pain there. Now look at him. He's making songs for kids' movies. The old man took another long swig and sighed, lost in thought for long moments. The young man extended a hand to shake him from his stupor, but the old man stopped him with an upraised palm that turned into a wagging finger. Kill your heroes, kid. Kill them before they let you down. The young man frowned. You know, you used to be my hero. The old man said nothing and held out a gun for the young man to take. The young man grabbed the pistol and leveled it at the old man's forehead. It doesn't matter. You used to be my hero, but you died a long time ago. Killing you only serves you, not me. I'm not your errand boy. You want to die? Go ahead. He tossed the gun back. But if you want to be a hero, be a hero. You don't have to save kittens from trees. Help a kid in need. Give some money to a charity. Help a lady across the street. I don't care. But don't sit there lamenting the choices you chose not to make. Be your own damn hero. The old man smiled, placed the gun in a sack, and put a red cap upon his head. Now you're ready. I have nothing left to teach you. He winked and disappeared to the sound of sleigh bells ringing in the night. I think that's all the time I have, but thank you.
Thank you, John, for sharing all of that with us. We really do appreciate that. And your timing was very good. Okay, so I'm gonna go next. Reset the timer. Okay, can everyone hear me well? Okay, awesome. I'm gonna start off with the poem. This is one that I came up with, kind of inspired by how during the winter, we always have kind of an influx between the cold and the warm weather since it's Louisiana, and also kind of look back at this past year. Life is cool and warm, drawing in emotions that soothe the soul. This year has brought so much sorrow, causing me to reflect on my blessings. Without darkness, would I see the light? Without the cold, would I appreciate the warmth? Life is cool and warm as I balance my soul within. And today, I wanted to share a novel I've been writing called The New World. And I've been doing a lot of back and forth with it and editing. And it's a piece I'm rather proud of. It's not done yet, but still work in progress. But I wanted to go ahead and share some from that. The afternoon sun was high on this blessed Saturday. I loved any day that was away from my high school. Even little trips towards the mailbox gave me more joy than sitting amongst the daily grind of being a high school student. As I walked along my home's driveway, a dark disturbance briefly distracted me on my right. It left my eyesight as soon as it came. A few seconds passed as I stood still with my nerves on end and my heart racing. That was probably just your eyes adjusting to the light, I told myself. Or maybe even a stray black hair fell past your eye at it. I took a breath in and then let it out slow and steady. After my heart settled, I finished walking towards the mailbox. When I reached my hand inside, I caught the same dark movement again towards my left. Of course, nothing was there when I turned, but my heart rate shot back up again, and this time I could see the hair standing on my arms. As quickly as I could, I grabbed the letters and junk mail, slammed the mailbox shut, and stepped back to lunge towards the house. My world turned into a blur as a sudden horn honk shook me. I looked in time to see a car quickly backing out of the driveway opposite of me. If I didn't move, I knew it would hit me, but my feet seemed paralyzed as I watched the car move closer and closer towards me. Right when I knew I would feel the car impact, I felt my body sharply jerk towards my house, and I fell hard upon the grass. "Oh, sweet Jesus!" I heard a man yell as the car's door slammed. The owner of the voice appeared by my side as I tried to figure out what just happened. "Maria, are you okay?" my neighbor, Mr. Doug, asked as he looked me over with frantic eyes. I looked down to see that the car had not touched me. In fact, if anything, the impact on the ground was the only thing that created any discomfort. "I think I'm fine," I stated as I pushed up on my hands to stand. Mr. Doug grabbed my arms in a soft yet secure grip to help me up the rest of the way. "Oh, dear child," my neighbor stated as I brushed all the dirt and grass off my black shirt and wide-leg jeans. You could have, you could have been a pancake. I'm so sorry." I looked up to Mr. Doug, which was all I could do since he was a giant of 6 foot and 9 inches. His face with his green goatee was taut, and I could see trails where tears had dried up. "Are you sure you're fine? You were right in my blind spot. I didn't see you until the last second." "It's okay, Mr. Doug. You didn't hit me. I was able to somehow move out the way in time." "And it's a miracle that you did," he exclaimed. "I was certain I was going to hear it crack or crunch the second I saw you." My face grimaced at the thought of my body making those sounds. "Now hold on, Maria," Mr. Doug stated as he hurried towards his car. A red car that happened to be my mom's approached towards us. "Let me move my car back into the driveway so I can fill Valerie in on what happened." Mr. Duck slowly moved his car back into his driveway, giving Mom room to drive into ours. Mom was getting back from a store errand, and even though it was the weekend, she was dressed in a crisply ironed white t-shirt and pleated blue jeans. I tried brushing off all the grass and dirt from my clothes to feel less disarray next to her. though I knew they had left stains that her eagle eyes could not miss. "Val, let me explain," Mr. Doug stated as he walked back towards us. Mom watched him with calculative eyes as he stopped a few feet away from her. "Maria almost got hit by my car, but I was able to stop in time, and she was able to get out of the way." Mr. Doug spilled the words in a hurry to get them over with, which in hindsight was for self-preservation. Every word that came out of his mouth solicited an even angrier and shocked Mom. "How in the world did you almost hit Maria?" Mom asked while pulling me next to her. Mr. Doug took a couple of steps back. "Dear, I'm sorry, but I was in a rush and I didn't see her at the mailbox." My mom closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and with a shaking hand that I felt on my shoulder, she slowly released it. When she opened her eyes, a tight smile formed upon her face that sent chills running down my spine. "Doug, please tell me that there was a life or death situation awaiting you, and that is why you almost took my only daughter's life." Our neighbor took another step back. "Look, Val, I know it isn't really a good excuse, but she was in my blind spot." The smile on my mother's face widened to the point where I thought it may crack at the edges. "Doug, the situation has thankfully concluded where neither one of you have been hurt. I suggest that you go about your business today as usual and take extra precaution to look both ways. Check all of your blind spots and make sure you don't almost hit anyone else's child." Mom's hand squeezed my shoulder as she continued. "I'm sure you would feel the same way I do now if someone almost ran over your precious little Daphne." Mr. Doug's eyes grew wide and his nostrils flared at the mention of his fur baby poodle being in possible harm's way. "Don't you dare bring my little Daphne into this." Mom's hand loosened on my shoulder as she let out a laugh that was much lighter than the tension and threat she just threw to our neighbor. "Doug, come on. You know nothing will happen to your little poodle. She guards your yard dutifully, barking at everyone and everything that goes by without leaving the yard." Mom walked towards Doug, placed her hands on his shoulders, turned him towards his house, and patted him on his back briefly. "Just be happy nothing happened," she told him. "No harm done, and nothing will happen to anyone. Just go about your day, and we will go about ours, okay?" Mom gestured curtly with her hands for Mr. Doug to exit our driveway. He gave her a slightly offended look and hurried back towards his house. When he got to his door, he turned around to see Mom waving at him with the unnerving smile still on her face. I could almost hear his from across the street before he entered his house. "Maria, are you okay?" Mom asked as she started frantically brushing my clothes with a worried look. "I'm fine, Mom," I replied as I stepped back to get her to stop. "Look, Mom," I stated as I turned around full circle. "Nothing is broken, spring, and I think even scraped. The yard broke my fall." My mom slowly shook the long dreadlocks on her head as she escorted me back into our two-story ranch-style home. "That man better be glad nothing happened to you, or that miserable dog would be long gone at someone's unexpected dinner." Mom closed the door behind us, paused, and a sly grin upturned the right side of her mouth. "It would probably be his unexpected dinner I'd served to him." "Mom, you've been watching too many of those strange but true crime documentaries," I stated as I threw the mail onto the brown coffee table. I was amazed that I hadn't dropped all of that during the whole fiasco. The adrenaline from my near-death experience had worn off, and the couch was a welcome comfort as I plopped down in the living room. "What was in the mail earlier?" Mom asked as I reached to pick up the remote off the coffee table to continue the Korean drama I had been watching earlier. "I never really got a chance to find out," I stated as I pushed play and sat back to relax. Mom reached down, grabbed the letters. After shifting through, she threw one towards me. It bounced off my arm and onto the floor. "Hey!" I exclaimed as I bent to pick it up. "It's from Northwestern. What does it say?" Mom asked as she opened and started reading a letter that was for herself. I grabbed the remote again and paused my K-drama and opened the envelope. Northwestern State University, Louisiana was the college that I was to attend after senior year was over. The campus was only a 45-minute drive from Shreveport. That would mean that I would still be away from home, but close to home at the same time. This last part of senior year had been moving by quickly, as I was finishing last projects and had been signing paperwork after paperwork for preparation of what I called adulthood. College was going to be a big adventure as I stepped foot on the campus and became a new member of the creative and performing arts majors. "Is everything okay?" Mom asked as I read the sheet of paper with annoyance. I sighed and placed the paper on the table. They just wanted to let me know that some more paperwork needed to be filled to finish my application for financial aid. Mom put a hand on her waist and turned to stand in front of me. You know, this process sure is taking a long while. It would be nice if they could just finish everything in one go instead of dragging it out. Yeah, that would be nice, I stated. It would also be nice if you didn't stand right in front of the television blocking the really cute guy. I pressed play and Mom turned around and moved to her right to see what I was watching. Hey, is that new show you were telling me about? Yep, I stated with big eyes. And it's even better than I thought it would be. Has the main character figured out that is her long-lost friend she died in the fire when they were kids? Mom asked, as she sat down on the couch next to me. No, not yet, but there's this guy who showed up in the picture that has been distracting her with his foreign car, name-brand clothes, and unlimited black credit card. Mom raised an eyebrow as the apparent rich guy walked onto the scene. He is cute, but hopefully she'll be able to see past the money. I turned to my mom. Do you think college would be as dramatic as these K-dramas, or is it smooth sailing compared to them? I could tell that Mom was taking a moment to weigh what she wanted to tell me. College is not smooth sailing, she laughed as she continued. There may be some good times, but it is one crazy messed up storm of hormones mixed in with the stubbornness that young adults develop. I rolled my eyes at Mom's dramatic picture. I'm not planning to go there and party and stay out all night. You don't have to worry about that for me. I'm the dutiful student. A look of concern spread on Mom's face. Look, Maria, I know. I just want you to be on guard. I knitted my eyebrows in confusion. Mom, you know I'm a hard worker. And a procrastinator, Mom quickly added. I accepted my earned title with a shrug. But could you please give me some positive advice? You're making me more worried about college than I already was. Weren't we just having a convo last week about how I needed to lighten up, socialize more, and let myself have a little more fun? Mom sighed and pushed her long black hair out of her face. I'm just afraid that when you get to college, you'll slack off and procrastinate more since no one will be looking over your shoulder. Ouch, I said inwardly. The words hit me as if the ceiling had just caved in. Are you kidding me, Mom? I told you to open up more because you keep to yourself a lot. You also don't have any close friends, and I'm worried that the friends you do make in college will distract you. My face reddened with anger. I turned off the TV, stood up, and walked to the other side of the coffee table by Mom. Mom, you have got to know that you just contradicted yourself in that sentence. I watched as she placed the rest of the milk on the coffee table, straightened back up, and looked at me pointedly. Look, I'm sorry, I'm just concerned. You just don't trust me, I almost yelled. Mom's eyes widened as I continued. You think that I will go off to college and meet these imaginary new people and I won't be able to think for myself? You think I'm going to just let them in and run my life? Mom shook her head slowly. No, Maria, I didn't mean it like that. Well, Mom, that's what it sounded like. I left my mom confused alone as I stormed to my room. When I entered, I slammed the white door behind me, knowing full well that would just get me into deeper trouble. At the moment, I didn't care and started pacing the length of my room. How dare she think that of me? I said aloud to myself. She doesn't think that I can think for myself. I've been myself all through high school despite not fitting in anywhere. My feet stopped in front of my dresser mirror. You are stronger than your mom thinks, Maria, I told myself. Shy you may be, but at least you know who you are. I let out a frustrated sigh as I leaned against the dresser and laid my face between my hands. After a while, I shook my head and lifted it to look at my reflection. Do you really know who you are? I asked myself aloud. I scanned my red highlighted black curly hair, my light brown skin, almost black eyes, and good-sized nose. When I got to my lips, I smirked. I always appreciated how full and curvy they were. My observation continued to my red and white striped top, black wide-leg jeans, the silver chain that hung from my side and ended at my black high tops. What are you? I asked myself again. You look rather punk gothish, but you never fit into that scene at school. Honestly, you never truly fit in anywhere. My moment of question led me back mentally to the middle of my senior year. I could feel the loneliness I often felt while watching groups of people chattering, goofing off, and eating in the schoolyard. I had a few acquaintances, but they ultimately had a group that they hung out with exclusively. So my 15 minutes are up, so I'm going to leave it at that point right there. But thank you for listening. Next up, we're going to have Loretta.
Thank you. Really enjoyed this today. It's been a lot of fun listening to you guys. I've enjoyed it very much. I do want to mention the thing I'm going to start with is a series of, I'm really not even sure what to call them, personal writing. I'm in another writers group. I do see other writers behind your back. I'm sorry. And so we're provided with writing prompts by the leader. And so we've been meeting weekly throughout the pandemic. There are several elderly members, so we have not been, I haven't seen any of them since March, I guess. But we've been regular. We met all through the lockdown, and I want to remind, and these are some of the reflections that prompted by Laura. That was my response. And I want to remind you, this is probably what I'm going to send in for the anthology. That's kind of the 2020 reflection that Jeff Babineau is putting together. And I want to just encourage you guys to think about, if you haven't maybe reflected on the year of 2020 and what it's meant, you know, all the, not just the pandemic, but, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and protests that went on. So the anthology is going to, you know, incorporate a lot of what went on in 2020. That's kind of the goal. For complete submission guidelines, you do not have to be, by the way, a member of Shreveport Writers Club to submit to the anthology. So just make note of that and share it with your friends. Even if they are not part of Shreveport Writers Club, they are more than welcome to at least submit to the anthology. Jeff is the editor. Not everything that's submitted will be published, but we hope to get enough to be able to have a book. And so, you know, prose and poetry are both welcome. So visit ShreveportWritersClub.com, click on the Submission Call 2020 Anthology button at the top. There's a little listing there, and you can get the complete guidelines and the instructions on how to submit. But these are just 3 little reflections with the prompt from Laura that I wrote, and this is probably what I'm going to submit, without any guarantee that it'll make it into the book. March 23rd, 2020. When the world opens again. When the world opens again, I want to believe it will be much the same, that we will be as casually intimate, close as we once were to strangers in a restaurant, in line at the grocery store, jostled together on buses at intermission and half times. I hope that we can once again literally reach our hands out to strangers, but I doubt it. We can't. Fear and distrust will continue to keep us 6 feet apart. Perhaps we will begin bowing respectfully in greeting as they do in the East. Curtsies and bare nods of acknowledgement will start replacing high fives and handshakes. When the world opens again, I hope it will be kinder, more tender, careful of the bruised and hurting, but I doubt that too. When the world opens again, I want to say I will rush out to rejoin it, frolic in the gardens, accept all the invitations, travel, hug with abandon, but I probably won't. When the world opens again, will we only have to close it again and again, and each time shutting ourselves away, making a return to the world more and more difficult? When the world opens, it will be with parts of it still, perhaps forever, closed. March 25th, 2020. I'm here, and it's like this. Cocooned safely in my home, it's peaceful but surreal. The view to the back patio is much the same as it has always been this time of year, mostly brown, but with burgeoning green in the flower beds and along the fence. But everything is also different, fundamentally changed by a tiny, enormous thing. A virus, a strange and microscopic life form, is transforming us. altering what it means to move through the world, a vulnerable human, fragile, reduced to our body's ability to fight off an unseen enemy. We are only biology, after all, and just as susceptible to death from disease as the lowliest medieval peasant. And oh, that stings. We thought we had vanquished the worst of the threats, except of that of ourselves to each other, of course, and we were wrong. Bereft of the swagger of the alpha predator, the user, abuser, consumer of Earth's riches and resources, we are humbled at last, well, some of us, by the knowledge that no, we really do not have control of nature. We do not hold dominion over everything on Earth, despite what the big book of human ego has taught us for millennia. Nature fights back. As the scientists rush to find the cure, we are met with resistance, distrust, and doubt, even rage. Howling, or they are met with resistance, distrust, doubt, and even rage. Howling like cavemen, hurling rocks at the moon for shining too bright. We demand relief, but reject it when it comes. A reaction to the knowledge of how vulnerable, dependent on others, and how small we too really are. March 26th, 2020, I want you to know. I want you to know I'm not as strong as you think I am. It happened again. Someone was shocked, even dismayed, to hear that I'm struggling, that I had an attack at the dollar store and had to stumble out without the milk we needed, that I'm worried and frightened. I'm sorry. Not you, she cried. You're a rock. You're the one I depend on to have your shit together. Naturally, well, naturally for me anyway, I shut down, laughed it off. I tried being open and honest, and somehow my being vulnerable, admitting to, I don't know, being human, I'd somehow upset this person, a self-proclaimed spiritual Bada offering tarot readings and advice via Facebook Live. And as a people pleaser, I had to fix it, so I downplayed my feelings and signed off. And there I was, again, left without a voice for my true self. The same thing happened when my nephew died. People looked to me to keep it together, make the arrangements, open my home, comfort, and feed the grieving. And on some level, I was glad to do it. Busyness, keeping feelings at bay. But once, when I began to cry, a relative, the one so weakened by grief, who'd leaned on me for support from the car to my back door, said, "Stop it. I can't handle it if you can't handle it." So I figured out that my being upset almost everyone. I had nowhere to go with my grief, and it was crushing. Weeks later, I called the suicide hotline and finally just poured it, all of it, out to the stranger on the phone. I didn't have to care that I might upset her. She was kind and listened and did not meet my grief with grief of her own, and it helped a lot. So what I want you to know is that even the strong ones, the ones with their shit together, those who everyone depends on, have a limit. They're probably not really strong anyway, just better at hiding their weaknesses. So check on your strong friends too. Maybe make sure what they're holding up isn't quietly crushing them. You might be the only one they can tell, and that's what I want you to know. Sorry. Okay, so that's that. And the other thing that I have is a short story. Hang on just one second. Okay, sorry. My son was kind of being loud. Anyway, this is called, I have two things, so how am I doing on time? A little bit, okay? Okay, so I read this to you guys earlier, but for those who have not heard it before, this is called Rambian. So what I usually write is more science fiction, fantasy, kind of, I don't know, just call it speculative fiction. So the things that I have had published mostly have been speculative fiction. This is called Rambian. I kneel beside a sluggish stream and bring out a kitchen knife. Sawing, cutting as close to my scalp as I dare, I drop the golden locks, letting them eddy away. Mother always said one should try to bury or burn hair clippings lest birds steal the strands to make their nests. An unlucky thing, I surmised, though I never asked why. I have no time to go splashing after shorn curls now. The birds may have them. If their motives are dark or prove unlucky, I'm used to darkness and ill fortune. I slip through the forest carefully, quietly. I stop and listen for the sound of hoofbeats or jangling tack. My husband knows where I am going. He could find it blind, and I cannot let him stop me again. I pull up the hood of my cloak, bunching the fabric tight beneath my chin. A golden lock slides between the hood and my cheek like a vine searching for sunlight. I push it back as I realize I'm getting close. Just a little further. I'm so weary. I've traveled far, alone and on foot. I saw my chance for escape and I took it, swiping a kitchen knife and a half-eaten apple from my guard's sleeping hand as my only provisions. Over the rise, there. The cottage is gone, burnt by my husband's men years ago, but of course I recognized the yard. There is the yew tree, evergreen and welcoming, its twisted branches swooping low. A yew's red berries are not deadly if one remembers not to bite or swallow the seeds. My mother taught me that. Behind the charred remains of the house, I know I will find her garden, its humps and rows following prim straight lines beneath the grass and brambles. Perhaps herbs and vegetables still grow there, though wild and tangled, without my mother's hand to guide them rightly. How proud of it she was, even after she fled the city and there were no neighbors to covet the abundance. She demanded my admiration instead. Aren't they lovely, dear? She asked. Yes, mother. See this rampion, how perfectly it curls, how green its leaves. What would one give? What would one promise for a lettuce such as this? Anything. She nodded and smiled, having received the answer she wanted. As she moved down the rows, her long, slender fingers plucked away blemished leaves and any insects that dared invade the bounty. Today, my destination is not the cottage. My refuge is farther on, not easily found, camouflaged by ancient trees and my mother's enchantments. I must keep going. My mother's voice, which I have not heard in so long, whispers to my heart, closer now, not far. Go quickly, daughter. Then I hear them, my husband and his men. They come at a slow trot, wheeling about between the trees, calling to one another, laughing. They have seen me and know it will be no work catching a woman on foot. It is a sardonic, teasing chase. They know they will catch me again. I quicken my pace, but I can feel them gaining behind me. I summon the last of my strength to run. As I run, a song takes shape inside me. It bursts from my throat, a plea and a promise. I sing to the tower, a song older than words, ancient as thought, and as wild as the dream of freedom. I sing for a life away from the vile, vicious courtiers and sly, jealous ladies who report on my every move. I sing for freedom from the repugnant alchemists, their interest in my tears, which had healed my husband's thorn-pierced eyes, led them to small tortures against me, all disguised as accidents, a trodden upon toe, a tripped servant girl holding boiling broth, a pinch, a slap, a favorite kitten found drowned in a bucket. Once I realized the truth, they would swoop in to dry my eyes with a clean cloth or even the sleeves of their robe. Once I realized the truth, they would have had to flay me alive to squeeze another drop from my eyes. I run from the man who once claimed to love me, but I was not enchanting enough for long. There have been no children, though he has spent hours curled naked in my magical hair, as if it and not my body held my soul. I'm escaping a life in prison, constricted by expectations and ironclad conventions, the rules and obligations that bind a queen. They strangle me no more. Power thrums through my body, vibrating, racing, driving me forward. I feel the hot breath of a horse as it bears down on me, but the rider must pull up or crash. I feel a tug at my cloak, but he cannot hang on. My palms touch the sun-warmed stones of home. My voice meets my mother's enchantments. My song roars. My feet leave the ground. I ride a fierce surge of magic upward. I have regained the tower. Home, I run my hands over the worn, dusty, familiar furniture, clasp a ragged book to my chest. Inside, I will find love notes and instructions scribbled on the margins in my mother's hand. She thought of me always as a true mother should. If only I had not been so blinded by restlessness, rebellion, and love, I could have seen my mother's gift for what it was: sanctuary, protection from the harshness and cruelties of the world. My husband calls to me from below. I rush to the window, much as I did those many years ago, but there is no golden stair for him to climb, nor will there ever be again. A shearing with the kitchen knife will become my daily ablution. I swear it. Amused at his angry bewilderment, I shout down at him, "Did you think a witch's daughter was not privy to her mother's secrets?" He growls a threat. "Bring your siege engines and your underminers, husband. My mother's power has joined mine, and you will not gain entry here again." I turn my back on the window and my old life. I begin stacking books near a comfortable chair. What is not here already, I can conjure. I can forage for food and even hunt once my husband gives up his siege. Perhaps I will plant a garden. I am queen after all, sovereign of only myself. The end. That's it. Thank you.
And thank you very much for sharing that. I appreciate everyone who came to share their work today. This writer's medley, I think it's actually been better than the ones that we've had in the past. I just think it's awesome that we're able to make this into a Zoom meeting so that we could have this and have other people be able to watch and participate as well. And I really want to thank Shreve Memorial Library for helping us with that. And did anyone else want to add anything to this today or have any parting words?
I enjoyed it too. Good to see everybody always.
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier. This is always one of the things I truly cherish every year. It's always a joy for me to, not only just the fellowship we have, but to hear these stories and to just, kind of, not do them in the course of a meeting, but just to enjoy them together and make that part of our holiday tradition. I mean, it's been I consider it a part of my holiday tradition now, and it's really just special to me. So I'm glad we could do this year this way, because I was really hoping we could, and that means a lot. So yeah, thanks.
So yeah, thank you, John. I really have loved it too. I did want to mention that we're probably not going to meet again until after the holidays. I assume that's usually the way. We won't start back up. Well, is it usually in January or February when we start again?
It's usually the second week of January,
Okay.
traditionally, but this being the year it is, we can certainly do it differently. So it's up to the officers to discuss that and take it out. But yeah.
Okay. So we won't have a regular meeting or a critique group for December.
Right.
So we won't come back until after the holidays. I just wanted to check on that so then make sure that I kind of stay on top of things. Okay, that's it. That's all I have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to see everybody.
Everybody,
yeah.
always is.
And Brian, did you have something? We welcome you. I'm glad you came.
Yes, welcome.
And thank you for everyone that came. And
There's another
Destiny.
chat from La Destiny. I just wanted to address it. Yeah, please. You're more than welcome to join us. I understand that. I know now it sounds like I can't stop talking, but there was a point when I started where I was the same way. I couldn't get a word out, and that's one of the things I always tell new people about this club is it has really helped me open up with my writing and being able to share my work in a way publicly that I never could before. And so hopefully you will continue with us, and you'll find that confidence that I have found, because it's been really special to me. And so we're in the gratitude time of the year, so I'm going to be extra gracious to everybody. Just, thank you for all that you've given me writing wise over the years. It's immeasurable, and it's always cherished.
Well, thank you.
You're all friends. I do consider you all friends, because you've really enriched my life in a lot of ways. And try not to be sappy, but I can't help it with this, because it really is life changing for me.
Yes, please, everyone, please attend these Zoom meetings. It's a lot of fun. It's very inspirational. Since joining this group, I've been able to get a lot more writing, have a lot more confidence, because I am super, super, super very shy, and I do have anxiety. But being able to watch these other people be able to write their work and share it has been kind of a challenge to be able to do that for myself. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I thank everybody too.
Y'all are awesome.
Yeah.
You all too.
Yeah.
Come back in January.
Yeah.
Check the
Absolutely.
Facebook page, check the blog, and y'all, let's get back together in January.
We'll do that.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Everybody have a great holiday. Just
Yeah.
thank you.
Safe.
I take care. Be safe.
Brian, come back and see us, okay? La Destiny, Lori, with some new faces, some new names. Glad that y'all were here.
Okay.
Hey.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you all. I enjoyed the readings. They were very nice.
Thank you.
Bye.